Hi guys, how you doing? Welcome back to the Spurs Talk Show. I'm Sean Butler. It's Sunday morning. It's 9 a.m. I hope you're all happy and healthy and looking forward to game day, a big day in front of us. It's the first game of the season. You're going to see me for many hours today. You can choose to share them with me or you can choose to share them elsewhere. But you will have the option to watch the pre-match show from 12:30, then the watch-along from 2, and then the post-match show from just after the game. The game itself is going to be sandwiched by the opportunity for fans to come on and have their say. Listen, I want to get this content out. I was going to do it last night on my own video, but in actual fact, Mia from Spurs Between the Lines, wonderful lady from a wonderful channel, she asked me to go on to her show to talk about the Tottenham Hotspur Supporters Trust and their statement and how do I feel about it, how does she feel about it. And I feel like I kind of got everything I wanted to say off my chest with regards to it on her show. So I asked her if it's okay if I can just share it on my channel as well. She, of course, was more than willing. But I want to ask you guys, if you are going to watch this, if you haven't seen it already on her channel, then obviously check it out here. But please do, if you do like the video, then click the link in the title for her channel. Hit the subscribe button for her. We love to spread around as much positivity to different channels in the community as possible. And she's a friend of mine. She's a great content creator. And we spend a lot of time having a lot of banter back and forth about different things, but sometimes we feel aligned. And on this particular topic, I think we both, you will see, feel aligned about the Supporters Trust. To me, it comes across like they are under a new direction, a new banner, a new vision, and it looks and feels very similar to things that we see a lot of in, you know, the vocal ends of the extreme parts of the community who feel strongly about our ownership. But you'll find out why in a minute. Guys, like the video, subscribe to this channel, subscribe to Mia's channel. It's in the title, Spurs Between the Lines. Also, if you don't mind, subscribe to SeanButlerTV, my backup channel. I'm going to be doing some cool content on there in the future, but for now, I just need everyone to go over there for other reasons. Bit of a protective measure. Hit the notification bell, squeeze, and I will see you later on at 12:30. Cheers, guys. Come on, you Spurs.
And I'm joined by a special guest, Mr. Spurs Talk Show, Mr. Javianas. Sean, how are you?
Well, you know, 1 minute I'm good, the next minute I'm bad, the next minute I'm good again. I like footprints in the sand, you know, like flip-flops.
You know, that's exactly it. So we're going to get straight into it. I'm going to bring up their statement that they obviously did do today. Yeah, it is a bit difficult to read on there, so I might just read it from what I can get up on my phone, and then people can obviously read it as they wish.
I can read it for you if you want. It's bigger
go
for
on
me.
then. Go on then.
All
You
right,
read
so the
it.
Tottenham Hotspur Supporters Trust have come out this morning and said, this is a sad day for all Spurs supporters. We are devastated to see Harry Kane go. Our leading goal scorer and one of our greatest ever players. He embodied everything Tottenham Hotspur. He gave his all for the club, giving us so many memories to treasure. We thank Harry for all he has done for Spurs. Nice start. And then it gets into the meat. It should never have come to this. This is a watershed moment and a clear and painful indictment of the on-field development of the club over the last 4 years. We have lost a generational talent who, by his own words, only wanted to see the club progress. But the lack of a coherent and consistent football strategy from the board has seen significant on-field regression since 2019, leading to one of our own feeling he had no viable option but to leave. The board are merely temporary custodians of this club. If this board doesn't share the ambition of one of our greatest players, then how can fans feel reassured in the direction of this football club? Fans are angry and hurt. Our loyalty is being tested to breaking point. We must question the club's strategy and ambition, and we are owed an explanation on exactly who sanctioned the sale and why it happened a matter of hours before the season kicks off. The club board must make a public statement, respond to questions on their stewardship, and show that it knows what putting football first means. And that was from this morning.
Yep, that was from this morning. So I've got my thoughts, but I'll let you have what you think first.
I think they're entirely misrepresenting the majority of the fan base. If I'm entirely honest with you, this is the second statement in a row from the Tottenham Hotspur Supporters Trust in whatever new guise they are representing. I think there's new people that are writing these statements, new influences that are going on. I don't know who these people are, but I think that statement is entirely inconsistent with what a significant proportion, I'm not going to say the minority or the majority, but a significant proportion of the fans feel about this particular situation. For me, I think that there is enough justification and validation in the rationale for Harry Kane leaving. I think that our ownership were left with a situation. They made it clear in their own statement that they have tried as much as they can to extend his contract, and that Harry Kane had made his mind up, a long time ago. Ange Postecoglou has validated that idea. Daniel Levy did it this morning in their statement, and I just feel like you can make arguments for the rationale as to why Harry Kane left. Was it things that have happened over the last 10 years, not just the last 4, with regards to buying the right players, backing the manager in the right moment? All of those things are fair and reasonable arguments, but I think that the Tottenham Hotspur Supporters Trust is not an individual who has a fan's opinion like me or you, Mia, or anybody else that might feel differently about the ownership. They are supposed to represent the thoughts and the feelings of the people that they are a voice for. And I don't believe that nor do I believe that their statement regarding the season ticket, the match day ticket prices, is a representation of a large enough swath. They haven't, from all I can tell, gathered that insight. It seems to me, and it comes across to me increasingly, like the people that are now leading this Tottenham Hotspur Supporters Trust are leaning in a certain direction and represent the views of a group of people, a group of fans that may be more vocal in certain platforms than others. Personally, I don't share their views. They're more than welcome to say it. If they feel like that is a representation of the trust's opinion, then so be it. But for me, I personally have never put any real credibility or credence into their voices long before this. I don't think that they're particularly relevant. I've never felt like or thought like they do much that's meaningful for Tottenham Hotspur and don't really represent the fans. Even if they have an opinion that is popular, they don't really make any impact or inroads into making significant changes. To me, they are an irrelevant outfit. But what I'm seeing of late is that they seem to have taken a different approach that seems to be quite aggressive and negative in their tone and very accusatory and based on assumptions that I don't really feel like they back up with facts or figures, but more just their own personal beliefs. And I think that that's a problem. So for me, I don't really share their thoughts, and I give them even less credibility now than I did previously when they were more balanced and reasonable before, but still, essentially ineffectual.
Yeah, no, I found it to be a bit disingenuous, because I felt like that, like you say, they're representing who, because I'd never felt like they really represented me and my voice and what I believed, because I feel like that they represent either a little bit too passive, and now it seems like they're a bit too aggressive. So it's, for me, it's just not balanced enough. And what they've said, I feel like, well, explain yourselves, explain your rationale if that's what you do think, because I feel like they're just coming out with this statement, and it's almost just like an impact statement, a little bit like what they did do with the ticket prices. It felt like it's just like wanting to make this impact, like, look, we're here, see, we're changing, look, everybody, to try and maybe look like they are representing a majority. But it feels like they're not, and I never felt like they really have, and I've never really trusted them. To be honest, I've never really associated or felt like I associate with them, even when I hear them talk on other platforms. I'm not trying to disrespect. Obviously, they take time out of their days to talk to fans, talk to people, whatever they do. But I just never felt it was like a true representation, and it was never truly balanced enough for me. And now, even more so, I feel like this is just a really reactionary thing to do. I feel like it's a very reactionary statement.
And the same went with the ticket prices. I think the ticket prices was less popular. That the increases were less popular in a generalization and in isolation than this particular concept is. But I think the same trend is emerging here, that they are representing a certain narrative that I don't think represents or is and in my opinion, I could be wrong, but I don't believe it is a pure representation of the majority of Tottenham Hotspur fans. For example, I think you could easily make the argument that there's so many football clubs out there that are considered bigger clubs than Tottenham Hotspur that make sensible decisions around players who have served a very significant purpose and have become a part of the furniture at their particular clubs. But then when the timing was right, when the financial side of it made sense, they would liquidate. And the obvious, most recent option for that would be to look at Liverpool with Coutinho. They sold him for record money, and they went and used that money to rebuild their goalkeeping spot and their centre back, and that was the catalyst and the redemption arc for that ownership to go on to the great things that they achieved. To me, I don't think that we know what's going to happen yet. I feel like this window isn't closed yet. We don't know what this means until it plays out. If this money is then reinvested into the club and we can go and plug some holes elsewhere, then when you factor in all of the variables, Harry Kane's desire to leave, the fact that there was a risk at the end of the season if he did stay, if Daniel Levy did not sell him, that he would have left for free and also gone to our rivals and been scoring 30 goals against us next season. Plus, with the money that we are now going to have and hopefully going to reinvest into the areas of the team that need to be plugged, I think that there is so much validation and so much potential justification for this decision. Time will tell. If Daniel Levy doesn't reinvest that money, if there is this narrative that the money we've already spent is the Harry Kane money, then I think that this has more credibility, but we don't know yet. And so for Tottenham Hotspur Supporters Trust to come out with such an aggressive narrative that is accusatory and once again trying to poke holes and ignite fires that represent the very extreme ends of certain fans' opinions about our board and where the club is at. I just don't think when you play to that narrative, when you are supposed to represent the entire supporter trust, the entire supporter spectrum, I do not think that you're doing yourselves any favors when you are representing the narrative that is usually found at one extreme of the fan base. It comes across a little bit politicized to me, and it comes across as something that's going to, not do themselves any favor if they're looking for, more support from people. At the moment, they're the Tottenham Hotspur Supporters Trust, but I don't particularly trust the motivations of the people that are writing this. It doesn't seem sensical to me. So no, I don't like it. I don't support it at all.
The next thing was obviously were they justified? You sort of answered that. For me, I don't think so. Like you, I feel like they're jumping the gun a little bit. They're going a bit too quick with this, trying to judge the board on what the decision that they've made that they don't know the outcome to. It's just ridiculous to try and predict the outcome and say this isn't a justified thing to do. Harry Kane going on a free next season surely would have been more detrimental to the club, and I'm sure that if that happened, they would have been up in arms about it. And that's where the lack of balance is for me, and why I don't feel like it's justified, because it's such a lack of balance. Because I know that they would have said that. They would have said, Harry Kane gone for free. Ridiculous.
Of course, we didn't get no money people back. In the fan base that are on Twitter, Mia, there's people on the fan base that I've seen, and I won't obviously, but I could show you that the same people that are accusing Daniel Levy of gross negligence for this particular action are the same people that a couple of months ago were suggesting that allowing Harry Kane to stay, leave next summer and go to a rival in the Premier League would also be guilty of gross negligence. So the only scenario, the only reality in which Daniel Levy, according to some of those fans, is not guilty of gross negligence is a scenario where you don't sell him and he signs a contract. But the variable that people aren't factoring in there is that you can't force a player to sign a new contract. And if Harry Kane has intimated that he was never going to sign a new contract, which Ange has intimated is true, as has Levy, as has most of the ITKs that we lean into in the community, then I think that you had to make one judgment decision or another, one call on another. And to me, to get maximum value of 120 million, give or take, on a player that was 30 and had 1 year on his contract and that only had one club bidding for him and that had made the decision that he didn't want to be at the club anymore, to me, it comes across as a good business decision and a good decision for the betterment of the club, providing that money gets put back in. And that is why we don't know how that looks yet. In 3 weeks' time, if the window closes and there has been no other incomings, then I think that this sort of narrative has more credibility. But until we know how the window shuts, I think right now, the only thing you can really criticize Daniel Levy for is potentially the timing of the deal, making it or allowing it to happen 2 days before the start of the window. But at the same time, if you're going to hold him accountable for that, then you should also, if you're being fair and balanced, hold Bayern Munich accountable for lowballing on the offers all the way through the summer, knowing that as we approached the deadline, there was going to be a higher intensity, a higher level of pressure to make a deal happen. So there is no innocent party in the way that that timing figured out. But to me, the best result for Tottenham, given all those variables, has occurred, and the supporters' trust to use this as another hill to die on, similar to the ticket price increases. I think there's lots of things that you could criticize Daniel Levy for. My personal opinion is that this isn't one, and maybe less so, but the ticket prices, I think you could also argue, is another example. And the narrative and the aggression in the tone of the people that are writing these messages that are 180 from what they were 6 months ago, a year ago. And I agree with you, Mia. Maybe before they were a little bit too benign, but I think maybe now they're a little bit too aggressive. And I think that there should be balance. And these people, for me, don't represent what I believe is the reasonable, balanced opinion of the fans.
Yeah, no, I said the same thing. When I first saw it, I was just like, honestly, I just don't know with this why they're saying it. It's just a bit like unbalanced. I don't particularly feel like it represents me as a fan. I just think that at the end of the day, with the Harry Kane situation, with when they mention about the timing, you're right. Bayern Munich did muck about, and also if Levy accepted less for him when they also offered less, there'll be another up in arms, because it'll be like, how dare they take less, undervalue Harry Kane? He's the best striker, blah blah. So that's the thing, and I felt like in this situation, Levy wasn't ever going to come out good in a way, because if he let him go on a free, if he took less of the money, if he took the money, like it all, and it's before the start of the season, all of it kind of means that he's not going to look in a good light. But this reaction to me is way OTT for now. It feels like it's really
represent over the majority of the fan base, Mia, and I don't think this does at all.
I
this
don't
is
think
the second time we've heard from them in as many weeks or months. And on both occasions, they read to me like they have a new narrative, and like I say, I don't know who these people are. I've got no idea what the names of them are. I don't know if the majority of the board or the trust is the same as it was before. But to me, there is a different tone, and it's one that I do not think represents balance. I think it's one that is representing opportunism for people that have previously strongly held agendas, and to me that is a really worrying thing. And the only thing I take credence from is the fact that to me the trust are irrelevant anyway, so they can maintain their irrelevance whether they are of a benign tone or more of a kind of aggressive one. And to me it doesn't matter either way, but I'm disappointed for what it's worth. If I have to give an opinion, it's one where I say I'm surprised by the tone, and it doesn't fit right with me.
No, it didn't sit right with me either. So where do you think they're going to go from here then, quickly, to wrap it up?
Well, the trust.
Yeah.
Well, they got their protest organised over the ticket prices, which again, listen, for me, all of the arguments that they represent, I think, miss out on the realities of business. I think that this particular tone also ignores the reality of business. People that are writing messages that are fundamentally structured around the finances of the football club, they should have someone who is instructing them on the realities of economics, or the realities of how it is that you make each ends meet. And I don't feel like either of those tones are. They're going to have their protest on Saturday for the Manchester United game. I wish them luck. I wish everybody who wants to protest luck. I always support people that want to protest. It's a democratic right. And if you feel like you are underrepresented by the board, if you are angry with them and you want to join the trust and join their motivations, and the same goes to people that want to represent the Levy Out movement and protest from the shop, I always support them. I wish them well, because I think it's important to be able to feel like you can represent yourself. I personally don't subscribe to their same vibes, but that's their next step, I guess, is to see what happens on Saturday for the home game against Manchester United. I just think that they're picking the wrong hills to die on, and they've also shot from the hip far too soon on this one. I think you need to wait until the window closes to see what we do with the money. If we don't spend any more money, then I think there's every right for neutral fans who are on the fence right now to raise their concerns and to represent that however they see fit. But right now, with the window still 3 weeks to go, I think it's a really like I said before, I think they're shooting from the hip, and it could come back to make them look very silly. Maybe not. Maybe find out.
I feel like as well they might be shooting themselves in the foot a little bit, because if they go down a certain narrative, it could distance them more and more from supporters, and they won't have the backing of certain supporters because they won't feel like they're being truly represented. So it might isolate certain fans, and surely that's not what they want. They want fans to be behind them because they're meant to represent us, right? So I feel like they could be somewhat shooting themselves in the foot by doing all of this. I feel like they've got to be very, very careful and tread carefully with their next steps. And if they make more statements, I feel like they need to maybe be a bit more careful in what they say, because I feel like they're going to, like I say, really isolate people, because me, you, and I'm sure many others don't really trust them and don't feel like they represent us. And of course, that's not what they're supposed to do.
I never felt like I was represented by them, even when even when their stances were more middle ground. I still never felt like I was represented, because I've been a member for X amount of years. I've been a season ticket holder. I was a season ticket holder for 20 years for 15 years, from the age of 15 until I was 30. I don't remember ever receiving any communication from them. I'd have never received a poll, so I don't know where it is that they get their data from. And I think that if you're going to put out statements that are aggressive in nature towards the board, then you should at least be running that kind of narrative by the people that you're supposed to represent. And I don't feel like there is enough communication or enough access to be able to participate in those polls or data sets that they're basing their narratives on. If they are basing that on them, or if they are doing that off their own back, then in reality, the trust is now representing the opinions of individuals, not as a group. And that is even more dangerous. So for me, I think the whole thing is very, very strange. Yeah, I'm not a fan of it, if I'm honest. And look, I'm sure, sorry to say me, I'm sure your video will probably have, some comments from people that will feel differently. But so be it, right? That's what we're doing here. That's what we're all here to give our opinions.
The thing is, I'm like you. I give my opinion, but I always say that everyone should be able to support the club how they see fit. And if that is protesting, fine. If that's protesting and going in and doing the balloons, of course. If it means not going at all and not spending any money towards in the club at all, that's also fine. Like, I don't have a problem with any of that. I feel like everybody should be allowed to do that. That is their right as a supporter. So I don't go around telling people how they should support their club. I'm open to hearing everybody's opinions. So as long as everybody keeps it respectful, drop a comment. Let us know what you think.